A quiet revolution, the story of Sylas, the Unshackled. Listen closely now, and allow your senses to relax. Sink into the warmth of my voice as I weave the tale of a man whose chains once bound him to the stone floors of Demacia's prison halls, a man who tasted the bitterness of injustice and rose to fight against it. This is the story of Sylas of Dregborn, the Unshackled. From the moment Sylas was born, in the poor outskirts of Demacia, his life was a fragile balance between hope and hardship. He grew up in a village nestled along a road less travelled. The fields were gold with wheat in the summer, turning pale and windswept in the fall. At night, the lanterns lit the dirt paths that wove between humble cottages. He was a curious child, and dark-haired and quiet, perpetually wide-eyed, as though searching for a secret in every shadow. In that sheltered realm, magic was a seldom spoken taboo. The legends told of harmful sorcery and the righteous might of the mage seekers. They were meant to be the protectors of Demacia, shielding it from the destructive chaos that magic could unleash. Yet, even from a young age, Sylas felt the intangible thrum of something inside him. When he walked past travellers on the streets or visited the market stalls in the heart of town, it was as if he could sense ripples that others remained oblivious to. A subtle tingling beneath his skin, a delicate pull in the corner of his mind, whispering there was more to the world than simple farmland and cobblestone. This latent power both intrigued and frightened him. He could never quite explain it to the other children. They only saw him as odd and withdrawn. Sylas's parents, wanting to keep him safe, told him that if he felt something strange, he must stay silent. Whispers of a child with magical gifts could bring the mage seekers knocking, and to be taken by them was to vanish from home and hearth forever. Despite the tension that hung around him, Sylas was a gentle boy with an empathetic spirit. When stray dogs wandered near his home, he left bowls of water out for them on scorching summer days. He gave half his meagre lunch to children who had none. Yet this kindness did not shield him from the suspicious stares of neighbours, who noticed how odd occurrences sometimes followed him. A broken pottery jar might mend itself in his hands, or a wilting sapling might perk up when he walked by. Everything changed when an incident at the local market caught the attention of a travelling mage seeker. Sylas had rushed to help a young girl who stumbled in front of a merchant's cart. In a moment of panic, an unseen force shoved the cart aside, saving the girl from certain injury. Panic and confusion ensued. Some onlookers gasped that the wind had changed, while others insisted the cart had been pushed by a hidden hand. The mage seeker, who witnessed the event, wasted no time in confronting the child. That day, Sylas's life took a sharp and irreversible turn. The mage seekers, contrary to what one might expect, did not arrive with chains to bind Sylas immediately. They approached him with curiosity. They recognized his gift, a rare magic sight that allowed him not only to sense sorcery in others, but also to draw upon it. They whispered to him of serving Demacia, of helping root out rogue mages who sought to harm others. Sylas, eager to be seen as more than a curiosity, accepted. In his mind, it was a chance to become something meaningful, to be a part of something greater than the hardscrabble life he knew. He was relocated to the heart of Demacia, to the vaulted halls of the mage seeker's stronghold. There, beneath high arched ceilings that gleamed white in the midday sun, Sylas was taught how to detect magic's presence. Proud knights marched in crisp lines across the courtyard, and hush-voiced scholars took notes on the pulses of sorcery he sensed. Over time, Sylas realized that the mage seekers were not just protectors. They were also enforcers of strict dogma. Demacia prized itself on being a land free of dangerous magic, and the Mage Seekers were the blade held to the throats of those who broke that law. Yet Sylas's ability to sense magic in others quickly became a double-edged sword. The more he helped the Mage Seekers locate hidden mages, some quite young, some harmless, the more disturbed he became by the cruelty visited upon them. He saw entire families torn apart, innocent children taken away, their only crime being that they were born with an innate gift. Day by day, guilt gnawed at Sylas's conscience. He had joined the Mage Seekers in hope of doing good, but he realized he was complicit in fueling Demacia's deep-seated fear of magic. A pivotal moment came when Sylas encountered an elderly mage, feeble and unthreatening, her only talent being the conjuration of gentle wisps of light for reading. In a typical Mage Seeker raid, Sylas identified her aura of magic, and the enforcers stormed her home. They bound her hands and brought her before a Mage Seeker tribunal, condemning her to a harsh sentence. Her tearful pleas, asserting she had never used her magic to harm a soul, fell on deaf ears. Unable to bear it any longer, Sylas intervened, yelling at his superior, claiming this woman was not a menace to society. But the Mage Seekers silenced him, reminding him of his place. Sylas felt his heart twist. Was this truly justice? Days later, fate delivered its cruel blow. On a routine sweep, Sylas led his fellow Mage Seekers to a frightened young mage, who inadvertently discharged a wave of magical energy in self-defense. In the chaos, several Mage Seekers were wounded, and one knight lay dead. Shocked and reacting on instinct, Sylas inadvertently siphoned the girl's magic, releasing a surge of power that devastated the entire street. When the dust settled, he realized the magnitude of what he had done. It didn't matter that he had acted to protect himself and others. The Mage Seekers only saw a mage who had killed one of their own. All pretenses of collaboration vanished in an instant. Sylas was labelled a criminal of the highest order and hauled off in iron shackles. The Mage Seekers placed him in a deep, isolated cell within the walls of the mighty Demacian prison. The chill of the stone floor crept into his bones. Day and night, the metallic bite of heavy chains around his arms and legs reminded him that he was no longer free. A cautionary tale of what happens when magic goes unchecked. For many years, Sylas languished in that dark cell. The only visitors he had were knights who tossed stale bread and watery soup through the bars, and those same Mage Seekers who jeered at him for betraying their cause. Yet, despite the despair of captivity, Sylas did not let his spirit decay. Each night, he replayed in his head every injustice he had witnessed, every condemnation of an innocent mage, every drip of hypocrisy in Demacia's laws. Slowly, the embers of rage took root in his heart, and they refused to die. Those embers carried him through the darkest nights. When the princess of Demacia, Lexana Crownguard, began to visit him in secret, his mind was sharpened by renewed purpose. Lux, a mage herself, struggled under the weight of Demacia's anti-magic traditions. Her visits, though dangerous, provided an unlikely lifeline for Sylas. Through hushed conversations, Lux confided in him about her own magical struggles, and Sylas discovered he could siphon her arcane energies through the bars of his cell, learning to control and reawaken his dormant power. At last, the long-awaited day of his escape arrived. Drawing upon Lux's inadvertently offered magic, Sylas shattered his shackles, unleashing an immense burst of sorcery that leveled walls and sent shockwaves through the prison halls. Guards scrambled, horns blared, and chaos reigned. When the dust and rubble settled, Sylas emerged from the wreckage with heavy chains coiled around his arms, his old fetters now repurposed into a fearsome weapon. That first breath of freedom tasted like thunder in his lungs. Smoke and debris clouded the corridors, but the sky overhead dazzled him. He was unshackled, angry, determined. Leading a band of outcast mages, he fled the city, spurred on by the dream of forging a new Demacia, one that did not demonize magic, one that embraced difference instead of punishing it. In the months that followed, rumors spread throughout the kingdom. Sylas, the notorious mage criminal, was no longer a pitiful prisoner. He had become a revolutionary leader. Whispers spoke of how he recruited the exiled, the downtrodden, and those like him who had felt the sting of Demacia's harsh anti-magic stance. In hidden camps, they gathered, rogue mages with all manner of gifts. Some could coax fire from their fingertips. Others spoke in hushed tones to the spirits of nature, and some commanded illusions that danced in the moonlight. Sylas drew them together with a single promise. Together, they would overthrow a broken system. No more hunts, no more hiding. The once forgotten and afraid would stand tall and reclaim a place in Demacian society. Through the cold nights in the highland forests, they trained in secrecy. Sylas taught them discipline, hard-earned lessons from his time with the Magus Seekers. He taught them to harness their powers so they would never again cower before swords and spears. And with each alliance forged, each vow of defiance sworn, Sylas's revolution inched closer to ignition. Demacia, for its part, could not ignore the growing unrest. The royal family tightened security, deploying more mage seekers than ever. Sylas took advantage of their fears. He struck out with calculated precision, freeing captured mages from transport caravans, raiding outposts, and seizing supplies. Where once the mages trembled in secret, they now looked upon Sylas as their champion, a man unbroken by Demacia's might, forging a new path for them all. Now we come to the present moment in Sylas's tale. He stands on the frontier of a great upheaval. Demacia is no longer a land of unchallenged tradition. Civil discord simmers under the surface, the line between good and evil grown hazy. From deep within the forest hideouts, Sylas gazes over the horizon at the white spires of the city he once called home. In the cool night air, the pale moonlight glimmers off the metal of his chains, each link a silent testament to his past bondage. But these chains, once an emblem of humiliation, now serve as a potent symbol of defiance. He is torn between the bitterness that still roils in his heart and the nobler goal of creating a just Demacia, one where children need not fear the spark of magic in their souls. Some wonder if his ambition has grown too fierce, if vengeance has overshadowed the ideals he once held. Others stand by him unwaveringly, certain that only through Sylas's unwavering tenacity can the powerless be lifted up. At night, Sylas dreams of a day when Demacia's walls won't be a cage for its own people, when the arcane and mundane stand side by side. He imagines the city not in pristine white stone, but in rainbow hues of possibility, bathed in the light of acceptance. Yet each morning, as he wakes in a rough-hewn tent with the fragrance of pine needles in the air, the reality of the fight ahead weighs heavily upon him. The path to revolution is fraught with peril, and sacrifice looms on every step. Still, he moves forward. The weight of each chain link around his arms is a reminder of the old ways and of the life he left behind in that prison cell. They clang softly when he walks, a quiet anthem of rebellion. And so Sylas pushes on, forging alliances with any who share his vision, be they mages or even sympathetic knights disillusioned with Demacia's strict laws. And that is where Sylas, the Unshackled, stands today, a man at the crossroad of destruction and redemption, for it is not just his own fate he holds in his hands, but the future of every mage who has suffered under Demacia's rule. Many fear him as a warmonger, a magic-wielding extremist seeking to topple an entire kingdom. Yet others see in him a beacon of hope, a fierce champion of the weak, determined to protect the gift that once caused him only grief. In the end, the truth is more nuanced than any rumor can convey. He is a human being shaped by the cruelty he endured, and also by the compassion he still carries deep within his heart. His goals are noble, yet the path to achieving them may be paved with heartbreak. The memory of that prison cell, the clang of iron manacles echoing off cold stone walls, urges him onward, onward, until every mage is free to exist without fear. So, traveller, you have heard the quiet revolution brewing beneath Demacia's proud facade. Like the soft crackle of a distant fire, it starts small, but it will spread if given enough fuel. Tonight, when you rest, you may recall Sylas's story of a boy who wanted to help, who found himself betrayed, and who rose to shatter the very chains that once held him. As you drift into the velvety folds of sleep, remember that great change often begins with someone who simply refuses to bow. That is Sylas, bound once by iron, now unshackled by fierce conviction. His revolution is stirring, and the future of Demacia, of Runeterra, hangs in the balance of his choices. When next you hear the soft clink of metal in the night, think of him, and know that though his path may be wrought with conflict, the spark of hope he kindles for the oppressed burns brighter than ever before. Allow these final words to guide you gently into the hush of your own thoughts. The story is not yet finished, for history is written by those who dare to challenge the world around them. And Sylas? He stands ready, chains in hand, forging a future that might free not only his people, but perhaps, in time, his own soul as well.